What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another week and another episode of Unscripted, where we're bringing you professionals from all walks of life. We touch on their backstory, their mindset, and how they navigate through adversity and opposition. I'm your host, Akeem Haynes. Now, before we get into this week's episode, do us a huge favor. Head to Apple Podcasts or Apple iTunes or charitable.com and leave a rating and review of the show. Seriously, this small act goes a long way in moving the podcast forward. I also want to give a quick shout out to everybody back home in Jamaica that's been tuning into the show and listening each week. You see, we've been on the charts in 2 categories for the past month down there. So I want to give a quick thank you again. We truly appreciate it. It is truly making a world of a difference to us. You know, the other day I was touching up my new book. I didn't realize it was November already, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I know it's November on paper, but when you're kind of in the grindstone of things and you truly look up, you start to realize, wait a minute, next month is December, which meaning there's a new year on the horizon. And it's crazy because of the past few years, the years just kind of seem longer, right? Because there's been so much that's been happening in these past couple of years, but it's also a reminder that we're here today. Despite the ups and the downs that we face and the fluctuation and the emotions and all the things that we had to battle and are still battling to this day, right? We're still here, right? We're still here, and we got to celebrate that. We got to celebrate that. So we have a solo session today. You know, we're coming up on our last few episodes of the show before we close out season 2. The other day, a message came to my mind based on some experiences during that time in the moment that I want to share with this week's podcast episode, but I have to build a little bit of foundation and give you some more context behind it before I bring it all back around full circle. The other day I was in the gym with my little brother. You know, we got a little home gym that we put together, but we got a little home gym there and we were doing my little brother's rehab. Now, my little brother had a tough year in football this year. It started out great. You know, he scored something like 10 touchdowns in 2 games. He was doing work, but there was a game that came and he got hit a certain way and landed a certain way. And the next thing I know, we were in the hospital waiting for x-rays, only to find out that he broke a small bone in his collarbone. But fast forward to now, he's good. He's healing. He's got full range of motion. Is strong, all of that good stuff. You know, young kids, man, hey, these young kids nowadays, they be healing up quick. You know what I'm saying? They be healing up quick. But we still have to do the rehab. We have to strengthen it. We have to get things back into motion so the injury doesn't happen again, at least control all the things that we can. So we're in the gym and putting work in the gym. We got the music playing. We got everything rolling. We got everything bumping. And before we finish, he says, can I show you how much I can deadlift? Right? He had a big smile on his face. I think he was trying to show me that, you know, he was a strong guy, that he could lift his body weight. So I said, yeah, absolutely. Show me. Right? So we put 135 pounds on the bar and he lifts it for 1 and he puts it down and he's feeling good. Right? I think my man even flexed on me a little bit. Right? But I saw a teaching moment here. I went over and I lifted the bar 4 times back to back. And he kind of looked at me in awe. Right? Look, I wasn't trying to show my man up, right? I have a point. Stick with me. Bear with me here. I told him, you would be able to do this for reps too if you knew how to use your legs with your lifts. But in my mind, right, in my head, as a former professional athlete, you know, the ego can come out sometime. I was thinking to myself, baby brother, there's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? I didn't tell him that, but that was what was thinking in my head. He then goes to ask me how much weight I could squat or deadlift. And I told him and he said, that's a lot. That's crazy. Right. And I said to him, I think you forget I used to do this at a high level. I gave you numbers when I was at my best. I can't do that now. I'm no longer on that level. You don't need to be on that level yet, but you can be on that level. But you first have to master the level that you are on. You got to be great on your level. And that's my point to this episode. There's levels to this. There's levels to everything that we do. If you think about some of the people you might look up to or maybe want to get to where they are in that position, they were not always on that level. They started from a lower level, a level where they had to develop habits, a level where they had to develop and reconstruct a certain mindset, a level where they had to develop a foundation. I think too many times we think about the top of the mountain when we haven't even put on our walking shoes to even climb the mountain. Don't get me wrong. I'm guilty of this myself. When I used to run track and field, right, and every race that I got in, I always wanted to run the world-class elite times every single time that I stepped on the track. But for me, I always started slow, and I didn't run those world-class times right away, right? I had to get myself in a certain shape in order to run those times. Whenever I step on a stage to go and speak, I always want to speak in front of the big crowds. I always want to speak in front of the most people that I can. But it took me time to even speak in front of a crowd of 30 people. You see, what I want you to understand is every level that you find yourself in is an important level because you need to learn all that you can. You need to maximize the opportunities on that level. You need to prepare on that level for a bigger level. Before I spoke in rooms of hundreds of people, I first had to speak in front of a small room of 10. Before I got to the Olympics, I first had to run well at the local meets. I never stopped thinking about where I wanted to be, but I had to shift my focus to trying to take care of the level that I'm on, because every single level that you are on is a testing moment to see if you are well equipped for what's next. There's a scripture that says, "Be faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over many." Greatness isn't one level. I want to say it again because contrary to what we may see on, people's social media and all of the things that's happening in the world right now, greatness is not one level. It's a set of small levels that you have to operate on and maximize before you can attain that next level to get to another level, to get to another level, to get to another level. Greatness is a lot of small levels stacked upon top of each other. And it's the same thing for any profession, any goal, any dream, any aspiration. Just always remind yourself of this. Where you start is not where you will finish, but you have to maximize all that you can on the level that you are on. Meek Mill once said in his hit song, "There are levels to this." And he was definitely right about that. Whatever level that you are on, don't get discouraged about where you are. I know it's going to be tough. I know it's hard, right? I know all the outside voices are coming in, but listen to me. The level that you're on is important, and don't downplay that. Don't despise small beginnings. Don't despise the level that you're on, because chances are the level that you are on now is not the level that you were on a couple months ago, a year ago. You've actually elevated a little bit. Continue doing that. Continue maximizing where you are, because where you are now is not where you will finish. So thank you again for listening to this week's episode. Let me know your thoughts of the episode. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear what has been something that resonated to you in this season of the episode. And you can do that on Instagram. Our Instagram page is Unscripted with a K. So without further ado, I will see you next time, and I will see you next week for another episode of Unscripted. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week.